And welcome back to Fresh Outlook, everybody, on TWB. Gun control legislation remains one of the most controversial topics in the U.S. Take a look.
More than 70,000 members were expected to attend the three-day convention.
We will never back away from our resolve to defend our rights and the rights of all law-abiding American gun owners.
That theme carried throughout the day, including a fiery speech from former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin.
The Washington establishment sneers at you and you don't give up. The lamestream media just plain doesn't get you, and you don't give up. You don't retreat.
President Obama, who has pushed for gun control measures, was a prime target for criticism. Across the street, the No More Names vigil read the names of gun violence victims since the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre. Erica Lafferty, whose mother, Sandy Hook Principal Dawn Hochsprung, was killed in the elementary school shooting, hoped to talk to as many NRA members as she could.
I mean, the most recent polling that I've seen was that 74% of NRA members do support the universal background checks. It seems like it's their leadership that's kind of way more right than that and is really giving a lot of pushback against it.
Colorado lawmakers recently passed new restrictions, including new background checks and a ban on magazines that hold more than 15 rounds. Connecticut added more than 100 firearms to the state's assault weapons ban. Maryland and New York have passed sweeping new gun laws, and in Washington state, supporters of universal background checks recently announced a campaign to collect 300,000 signatures to take the issue straight to voters.
Let's get the conversation started, shall we? We have a couple new faces to introduce, so let's introduce them. Mac, welcome. Tell us who you are, where you're from.
I'm Mac Womack. I'm the mayor of North Brunswick, New Jersey. I'm a member of the Mayors Against Illegal Guns Coalition.
Welcome. I think this might be our first mayor in the House, so very exciting.
Well, it's good to be here.
Exciting day. And Jackie.
Yes. I'm Jackie Guzda, and I'm the media analyst for Ebru TV.
Great. All right, guys, let's get into it. On a basic level, this bill that was that didn't go through in the Senate, what is the big problem here? I mean, are our rights really at stake, or is this just about background checks or something more? Who wants to start?
It's about background checks.
Right.
The problem is it didn't go through. 87% of gun owners want it to go through. The problem is we have no inertia. We've got to get moving on something. We can decide how far we go. That's where we talk about rights. But the most basic things that don't infringe upon rights are things that we can start with, and a majority of senators didn't realize that.
Why are people concerned about their Second Amendment rights with this bill then, Dee Dee? I mean, what's the issue?
Oh, well, I'm against it. I mean, I think that, as far as background checks, I mean, what the concerns are with gun owners.
You were against the bill?
Yeah, I'm not for the background checks. I am for everyone should have a gun. And
you're not for background checks?
No, I'm not, and I'll tell you why. Because they can be confiscated, and I know you're thinking that I'm right there with the NRA, and I think that they're never going to give up their guns, and everyone should have the right to bear arms, and right now not everyone does.
Why shouldn't we have background checks?
Well, because they can be confiscated.
Okay. That's it?
That's what the NRA, that's their problem with it. None of them are for it. And that's why the Republicans are, they're against background checks, because they know the constituency doesn't want this.
Okay. The NRA, LaPierre says it's a siege against our rights, this whole situation. Do you agree?
Do I agree? Absolutely not. Dee Dee, you must have known that in advance. What's going on here is that the NRA, and LaPierre in particular, who's making $900,000 a year as a spokesperson for that organization, is selling an appeal to emotion. He's actually representing the gun manufacturer, the ammunition manufacturers. He's telling these people, oh, your rights are being taken away. You have a right to have a gun, to have this in your cold, dead hand. This whole thing is ridiculous.
You still have the right to have a gun, but what's wrong with a background check?
Right, because your guns can be confiscated. It's a slippery slope. What happens next? I mean, in many countries, that's happened where guns have been taken away.
That's
where they can be taken.
But if there's a reason if there's a reason that it's taken away, isn't that a good thing?
The illegals, that's fine, but still, that's up for law enforcement. I don't think that people should know where all the guns are.
Look,
I mean, I agree with Wayne LaPierre, and I agree with the NRA. And obviously, they won. There's a reason they won. I mean,
there's a reason
senators.
They won because they had more money behind these politicians.
Well, good. I hope they continue to have more money.
It's very interesting. You should look at the list of the NRA contributions to the politicians.
I don't care. I hope they get all the money in the world, because we need, in our country, it's good for people to be able to have guns. I live in New York City. I can't have a gun. It's a problem. I could be raped, I could be tortured, I could be whatever, and I can't defend myself. It's very difficult.
Have you tried?
Very difficult.
Have you tried?
I can't yet.
Okay.
I'm an Indiana resident, but I am in New York most of the time, so I can't. But I wouldn't be able to do it if I wanted to.
But if you could carry a gun, you would? In New York City?
Absolutely.
All the time?
In Indy, yeah, my gun.
Do you feel threatened on a daily basis, or?
Well, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be able to have that protection in Indiana. I would have a gun in my bag. I'd have a gun in my car. I'd have guns in my house. Of course, we all have guns in Indiana.
Okay.
And
Mac,
it's a
what do you
safe
think?
state.
Well, but I think Dee Dee's made a shift, and it's an important shift. Guns are pieces of metal, plastic, they're inanimate objects. She's talking about, and the NRA's talking about, our rights. She's not talking about the gun. She's talking about big government coming and taking them from everybody. That's not what's happening. That's what is being riled up by the NRA.
That's not really
And
happening.
pushed by the media.
And in the meantime, over 800 children killed last year by accident. 19, almost 20,000 people suicide by guns.
So do you think that a bill like this would have prevented that from happening?
A bill like this is the beginning, where we begin the process as a country of working together to work and find acceptable levels where people who can, should, and are good citizens who want to have guns and should and can have guns because they're mentally healthy, this is the place to start. And I think we have to start.
Okay, do you think that a bill like this, Dee Dee, Jackie, that's what I meant, just making sure you were listening, would it have prevented a Newton-type situation, a Sandy Hook?
Well, you know, Adam Lanza, the shooter, his guns came from his mother, who had, both of them had an NRA certificate, and she had her guns legally. No. And I know you're going to drive this conversation now into mental illness. Mental illness is a very nebulous topic, is it not? Who's to say who is mentally ill and who's not? Of course, people who are mentally ill should not be carrying a weapon. I think we all agree upon that. However, somebody who's just taking antidepressants, should they have a gun or not? Do you think so, Dee Dee?
I just think we should be able to have guns in America, and I'm going to be across the board. Don't care. Don't care.
Wow.
You don't care.
No, because your argument, and actually for me to answer your question, is no, of course it would have prevented it. No, I mean, people, the bad guys are going to have the guns. So people that want to protect
Adam Lanza's
themselves.
mother, she has a history of mental illness. You're going to say that her having if she didn't have that gun, he maybe wouldn't have gotten access to them and it wouldn't have happened? I mean,
Dee's being intellectually honest.
Yes, thank you.
That argument is, I believe in the Second Amendment, and we draw the line there, and I really don't want to carry the conversation any farther. And that's intellectually honest.
Sure.
Many of the rest of us, we feel we must carry the argument farther because of the people that are dying every year because guns are being misused.
But those are people. Those aren't the guns themselves, which was, thank you for helping with my point.
All right. What do we think about why can't we have groups, an anti-NRA group? You know, this is like groups that will lobby it with the same strength and support that the NRA does. I mean, is that what we need? Is that what's missing right now to drive the, the opposite point home? What do you think, Mac?
We have it. Mayor Bloomberg, Mayor
But is
of
it
New York,
enough?
It's not necessarily enough. And we still need reason, rational, calm discussion here. We don't need, just because the NRA is sounding one bugle very loud at one end of the spectrum, to go to the other end of the spectrum and be equally off the mark. We need to have a discussion and meet in the middle, because we are talking about guns, but we're also talking about rights. And people have to understand that I'll respect your rights if you respect my position about guns, and we've got to engage that discussion.
Were you surprised the bill didn't pass?
The Senate bill, I was shocked the Senate bill didn't pass and grossly disappointed.
Where do we go from here?
They're not giving up on that bill. We need to continue to try, because once we understand that gun owners and NRA members feel that type of thing is necessary and that kind of thing's appropriate, that's the kind of place where we can start the process. Get a bill like that passed where the purchase of
Yeah, it
guns...
just starts the process.
Right.
Right. I think for the... Just to say, okay, something's being done in light of these horrible tragedies, something is changing. How powerful is the NRA in your opinion, Jackie?
Extremely powerful.
Too powerful?
Powerful enough so that they can buy politicians. They can buy their votes and buy their support. That's the problem there. It's not that the NRA is supporting the rights of gun owners.
Membership is higher than ever, apparently.
Right, and it's coming out of fear. Fear that they're going to take away our Second Amendment rights, fear that they're going to take our guns away. Has nothing to do with rationality.
Oh, I think it's rational. I feel rational about it. So do all the NRA members and Americans who want to be able to have their guns. It's a different culture here in our country. It just is. We want our guns. We want to be able to have them. We don't want to have to go through a big process to get them. Back in my home state of Indiana, it's very easy to get a gun, and that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Go
But
ahead,
look, if you want new towns to happen again, if you want political things,
Can't blame the guns for that. I'm sorry. You blame the wackos. You blame the bad people.
that's a
access.
deflection.
I think
No,
the
sorry.
blame is
It's a
the access to
deflection.
the guns,
we
and
look
that's
at,
the
if
issue.
we look at what Governor Palin said, and even in the little clip you played, she is playing off one part of the country against another part of the country. We can't let that happen. We're talking about the safety of children. We're talking about the safety of mentally ill people, people that are on the verge of suicide. We're talking about the people killed in innocent drive-by shootings. We're talking about a continuing non-sustainable situation in our country that we have to find a way to have a discourse about it without fear, without people feeling that this is the beginning of somebody marching into my house and taking my guns. We've got to, because that's not going to happen.
Why isn't this happening in other countries? Why is this such a problem here? Why aren't there mass shootings on the scale that we have here and the quantity that we have here? I mean, what's the reason? Is it our gun laws?
Guns are easy to get here.
Or is it our mental state?
Different
from other countries.
Chicago has no guns, and they've got the highest crime rate in the whole country. What's that say?
Well, Chicago has a lot of guns. The guns are
But
all
that's
brought-
my point. You're going to make my point again for me, is because the bad people will always have the guns, which is why in Chicago the good people aren't allowed to have the guns.
That
so
is
guess what?
too simplistic
No, it's not. It's
of an
true.
answer.
Sorry, you're wrong.
No, I'm sorry. Look at Nancy Lanza. She had a certificate from the NRA, and she had a whole arsenal of guns, which her son took and shot 26 people.
Well, he's a
and
whack job.
children.
He's a bad kid.
But
I mean, it has
she
nothing to do
was-
with the
But
guns.
here's
and
the question.
she
If you
owned
have
the
a
guns.
kid that has mental illness, and he did, should she not have been allowed to have the guns? I don't think she should have. You think she should have been able to?
Yes.
When you have a family
Everyone
member
should
with
be able to have a
mental
gun
illness?
in America.
Even though the son has mental illness, he takes the guns and goes
Well, she should have
crazy.
locked it up. I mean, if they,
So
you know,
she's to blame.
well, I think she is to blame. I think he's to blame too. They're bad people. It's not the
They
guns. It's
weren't
the
bad
people.
people. They're nice upper middle class people from Connecticut. The kind of person that you want the right to have a gun.
That's right. I want everyone to have a right to
Well,
gun
then
in the
you're
United
going
States.
to see more new towns. You're going to see more shootings.
And you know
of
what? And you've got,
politicians.
I don't want to get raped, killed, and I don't want bad people to be tortured by bad guys who have the guns, because they're always going to have
neither do
them.
we.
Well,
what Mac
then,
is saying
everyone
is
should be
that
able to
we
have a
need-
gun.
No, that's not true. We need to start taking steps to prevent your bad people from having these guns.
Chicago's getting better. The
still the worst.
It is bad. The gun laws there are working, but here we are. I'm from New Jersey, the New Jersey Turnpike, where guns transport from places where they're easily available into New York City, goes right by where I live. We need to have a national policy that recognizes that we have a Second Amendment, that we have rights that people hold dear, but also recognize that we have children, we have relatives who have mental illness. We can't allow these weapons for killing
But
to
they're going
just
to get
be
in anyway,
available to
and they're going to be in the
everybody.
hands of the bad
How would
guys.
Adam Lanza
always.
have gotten access to weapons if his mother didn't have them?
I'm sorry.
You're
Oh,
saying-
well,
you're
anybody
saying-
could. I mean, look.
You're saying
I mean,
he just easily could have gotten.
Now wait, he applied for a gun permit and was refused.
Oh, and you don't think he would have found a gun? Come on.
He did find a gun.
Exactly, but even without
Several.
that, it would have taken 5-10 minutes. You can always find a gun if you're, looking
No,
to kill
no,
somebody.
he was
with a gun.
stopped on his first attempt because of the background.
What
check.
about-
I
found
think
one?
that is
What about
No.
places like the Joyce Foundation? Are people aware of this? Mac, do you know what this
No,
is? And
no.
does anyone know what the Joyce Foundation is? I believe it's an anti-gun group that sort of is
Who
trying to
cares? They're so
combat the
small,
NRA.
they're not
but-
getting anything done.
Right,
They
the
can't
fact that no one
combat
on the
the
panel
NRA.
knows. I mean, I don't
That's
think
the
that's
whole
a
point. Nobody knows who they are because they can't get past the NRA because the NRA is so strong.
They're
You're right
so
about
strong
that, Jackie.
because they have so much money and so much political
That's
clout.
true.
The
Good.
NRA has a lot of power, perceived power.
Mm-hmm.
As long as perception is everything, they have power.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that money is power, as long as Mayor Bloomberg is willing to fund candidates that will take reasonable and rational steps on gun control. That power that the NRA has is going to begin to shift, and it's going to begin to disappear.
He's a relatively new player in all of this, but do you think he's made headway, or do you think he has a long way to go?
Well,
I belong to the email list of Mac's organization.
And?
He's a billionaire. So
Right.
billionaires
Yeah.
can make headway faster than people like me. But to the extent that politics depends on money, and Mayor Bloomberg has said, if the NRA comes after you as a candidate because you're taking a rational position, I'm going to help fund your campaign, unless you're
Yeah, well, good luck
crazy.
with that. Good luck with that, Mayor Bloomberg. Along with the sugary drinks. Let's see how far that
It's
goes
worked
with the
so
NRA.
far. It's worked so far. The last election cycle, people have begun to win based upon a more rational approach. And you know what I really believe in, and Dee Dee may disagree, it isn't just people who are anti-gun that are voting for him. It's people who say, I'm pro-gun, I want to keep hunting, but I want some rationality in this process.
Right. I think gun owners do want rationality. I don't think you can deny that. We'll see what happens in the midterm elections.
Right,
That'll
and
be an interesting
90% of
situation.
the populace supported this bill. Those people are not very happy that that it was voted down.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're out of time. Dee Dee's shaking her head, but we can't. That's it. I gotta cut you off. I gotta pull the trigger. No pun intended. When we return to Fresh Outlook, everyone's talking about that new internet sales tax, and so are we. That's next. Stay with us. You're watching Fresh Outlook.